Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. I hope everyone is well. We have another live stream today, and I'm so excited again for this one. I've been waiting for this one we had a chat quite a while ago, so it's been like at least a week. I've been really excited. We've got on today a very special guest, a Muslim brother from California in the USA, and the face of Dawah over Dunya, my brother Rumzi. It's nice because I think, if I'm not wrong, you're the second like British, like your second born Muslim that I've had on. Usually I have on just mostly reverts, so it's nice to speak to another born Muslim. I really enjoy your content. Like we were just saying, you're like dedicated to this. Like your streams are like 8 hours, 7 hours long. So you're dedicated to giving dawah and defending Islam, and you have such a positive outlook, and you're really down to earth and honest in your views. So I respect that a lot. How are you? Welcome. Sorry, I've done all the talking already.
I'm well, sister. I'm not gonna lie. I've never streamed this. It's not that early. It's 9 a.m., which is not that early for me. But I've usually streams are like a late afternoon thing for me, so it's a bit of a change of pace. I like it. Interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, we were like the time difference. I didn't really take into account when I started YouTube that the time difference that you'd have. You just assume that everyone's on the same time as you. So thank you so much for doing this. Can you share a little bit about your background? I know you're like from a Palestinian Muslim family, which is really interesting. I've never actually met a Palestinian Muslim before, which is strange. So I really want to talk to you about that. What was it like growing up in California?
Well, I was born and raised in California, but I've spent a good portion of my life in Palestine. Alhamdulillah. I've gone back and forth a number of times. Not that much time, but I have enough to keep me connected with the culture, with the language, with everything. I'm full Palestinian. My parents are both fully Palestinian. But I definitely. Funny thing is, I always see. I have the Palestinian Kufi right here behind me. But I always on my streams I tend to wear this with my hat backwards, kind of like mixing the East and the West, kind of. That kind of makes sense. Yeah. But no, I'm blessed to have grown up here. I'm blessed. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a blessing. Alhamdulillah.
It's definitely somewhere that I want to visit. My husband's been. He stayed in America for a while when he was younger, so he knows America really well, but I've never been. It's always on my list, but because he spent so much time, he's like, nah, done that, been there. Like, he's like, maybe later down the line.
I can't blame him. I mean, it's nice, but it's also not nice. I get it.
Really? It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just like a Hollywood thing, isn't it? Like they seem to like make America seem like it's the greatest place in the world, so you just want to visit it.
I mean, it's stereotypically, yeah. No, I mean, look, I'll be honest. I do like. I was born and raised here, so I love it here. It's just naturally, but it's not the place. How do I say this? If you're gonna make hijrah, don't come to California. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of the place where if you grew up here, you love it, but if you don't grow up here, don't come here.
Yeah. What's it like being a Muslim in America? That's like really an interesting question for me, because I know with mainstream media and everything like that, but in America especially, what's it like being a Muslim there?
Well, okay, so every person's experience is different, and not all America is the same.
Yeah.
If being in California it's not the same as being in the deep South.
Yeah.
If you're in South Florida or if you're in northern Minnesota, it's different than being in California. I grew up in a very diverse community, a very diverse location, if that makes sense.
Yes.
The town I grew up in, it's not a very big city, but we had over 300 Muslim families in that whole city alone. Oh. Most of which were actually of Afghan origin. I grew up in a majority Afghan mosque. I was one of the very few non-Afghans in my masjid. I don't know how I didn't learn Farsi, but excuse me. But I know people who actually grew up literally just a couple towns over who had a very different experience from me. Grew up in a very not diverse community, if that makes sense, which means they were prone to more stereotypes and more this, that, the other. So I'll be honest, I grew up, I didn't really experience that growing up. The typical, Muslim. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't, I did face difficulty, but not in that sense. I faced different kinds of difficulty that it's maybe I'll get into later, but the stereotypical, he's a Muslim, 9/11, terrorism, that not really. Alhamdulillah.
I never really experienced that either. I think for a long time, I didn't want to wear hijab because I thought that people would look at me differently, judge me differently. Even just being out and about, in like just going to the local supermarket, I thought people might look at me differently, but actually they don't care. You're not that. I think people think they're really important, but actually people are just so caught up in their own stuff that they don't care. So yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you didn't experience any of that. You come from a Muslim family. Is it quite like are your family quite like strict in their Islamic values?
Sorry, my computer went off. Sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, don't worry. Are your family quite strict in their Islamic values, or are they?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into detail, but
Yeah, of course.
but let's just say primarily my mother is who had the biggest influence on me, if that makes sense. I don't want to get too much into detail past that because it's a bit personal, but definitely, I'll just say this: definitely, my mother is who built me who as I am, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've got a similar. I mean, my mom did a lot of our upbringing, so I can respect that. But we never grew up in like a primarily Islamic house. It was very much, Islam was second to education. Education was always the forefront.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And back in the days, California was quite a based state, but these days it's a lot more liberal. So from like a Muslim perspective, what are the differences in the culture over there just now? Like, with Islamic culture and how liberal everything is just now?
I'll be honest. I've never really known Palestine. I've never known California to not be liberal. It's definitely more liberal now than it was when I was younger. But when I was younger, I wasn't the most politically active, so I wouldn't really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of kept myself in a bubble for most of my life until a few years ago.
Where did you go to school? Did you go to like just a public school?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just I've never been to an Islamic school. Never.
Do they have Islamic schools there?
They do exist, but limited. They do. Like I do know a handful across California, but not. There's just not enough, obviously, because there are a lot of Muslims in California. There are a lot, and there's just so there's not. I mean, there are a decent number of Islamic schools, but not nearly enough for everyone. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I speak to a lot of mums and dads because I've created a fellowship where a lot of mums and dads get together so that we can all sort of. It's like an online community really for parents. And one of the biggest issues that we discuss is like schooling, like where to put your kids to school. Because you went to a public school, I went to a public school, and the stuff they're teaching now compared to when I was younger is just as insane as it was. Like, and it's not Islamic at all. So it's such a big issue just now. Yeah, it's mad.
That was actually part of remember I mentioned earlier the difficulty I would face, that it would be related to that.
Well,
definitely related to that. Well, not realizing it, of course, but now that I look back, that was definitely something that was difficult.
Yeah. Did you get because I always met at school, there was always like Muslims and non-Muslims, but even Muslims that would fall into like alcohol and not so much drugs. It was more alcohol that was a big thing, and partying and stuff. And I was more scared than anything else. But of course, like it was so in your face that you felt left out. But because fear sort of overtook, I never went into that sort of thing. But did you find a lot of Muslims that were sort of falling down that path?
I don't know if I'd say a lot, but I did meet some, definitely. Yeah. I have met my fair share. It's especially in high school, or I guess what you call secondary school. When I guess, how do I say this? That stuff, that the haram is much more in your face, like in your face, everywhere you go, every turn, around every corner, every nook and cranny. It's like it's waiting there for you, waiting. And I definitely did see a number of Muslims. I mean, alhamdulillah, I knew a lot of Muslims, and the Muslim by the time I was old enough at that age, the Muslim community had grown a lot in my community. It had a lot. I remember our masjid was literally, I have this memory of our mosque literally being just like a tiny shed, literally just a tiny, like imagine a tiny beat up house, but just with carpets, with nothing else, just carpets. Wow. It was a tiny house, right? And now it's on its way to becoming an Islamic school. It's actually, they've expanded it so much. Now they've got a whole new property. Now it's literally a huge masjid. It's ginormous. Inshallah, it's going to be a big Islamic school one of these days. Yeah. But so there were a lot of Muslims around, but the problem is it was oftentimes hard to identify them because of their behaviors being so similar to
Yeah.
the rest, if that makes sense. Now, I did meet my fair share of very practicing, very devout people, you could say, but definitely everywhere you go, you're going to find somebody who I can't, that reaction when a Muslim comes and he's like, oh, hey, this is my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I've had that experience, and it's mental. It's like you just don't know who to be friends with. Like, I think growing up for me, it was like, who can I be friends with? Like, who should my friends be? And having friends, but having like, they almost had parts of their lives that I didn't want to be a part of. So, you sort of had like half friends. It was hard growing up. Yeah.
Even my little sister, because like it's getting worse, and it's getting worse and worse. Because my little sister, she's a few years younger than me, and she's actually she's at that same school, or she was just recently. She graduated, and the things she's told me of the things that she's experienced there, I thought I had it bad. The things she's telling me, I'm like, what? Like really? the level of like audacity, the level of like, I don't know if I should be sharing this, but like she told me stories of literally hijabi sisters openly doing things that you would never think a hijabi sister would do. Like things you would like that shame, that kind of like that shame that you would expect would feel if they were openly Muslim, right? But these, I'm talking people, I'm not going to say what they were doing, but doing things very openly, shamelessly. And I was like, Allah, what? It's definitely, when you say public schooling, can't say I love it.
No, it's sad. And I feel sorry for it, especially girls like that. Like I had even girls in my day would come to school really early, go into the bathroom, take their hijab off, bring makeup, put makeup on, do their day at school, and then at the end of school, put their hijab back on and wipe the makeup off. And I remember thinking at that age, that's a lot of work. Like, what are you doing it for? Like, and it was like
it's like dedication. That's dedication.
Yeah, it's like every day, and they would do it just to get attention from boys. And I was like, but why? Like, what is the obsession with boys? Like, they're just boys. Like, do you know? And it's because of society. It's like that is what drives women in society just now. Is like, get a man or get fat. It's like, that's like the two options.
Get a man or get fat. I'm gonna remember that. Get a man or get fat.
It seems to be like what women are just doing nowadays, isn't it? It's like this is what drives a woman. It's
one thing I say now that this might get me canceled, but men like looking at women. Women like being looked at by men.
Yes.
Go ahead, cancel me. I know. I'm sorry. What can I say?
That's another thing that's new. Isn't it? From when we were younger, there was no such thing as cancel culture. Now it's like everybody's just.
Man. Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I didn't think of that. That's a good point. That's something that didn't exist when I was younger. Cancel culture. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
It's only been a couple of years, and it's so like it's everywhere right now. Like everybody is worried about that happening to them. It's sad that there's no freedom of speech at all.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. It's mad. Sorry, we've gone on a tangent. I just said I like talking to people, and I tend to talk sometimes and just get into conversations, but it's good. You've had quite a social media journey, but I was quite surprised, like you've hit 100k mashallah, in only 18 months, which is massive. How do you feel about that, and what made you start doing Dawah online?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first. How it all started. So I've told the story a number of times, but it throws me off every time I say it. Excuse me. I got interested in Dawah when I was maybe about 15 or 16. It's when I kind of had my what I like to call an enlightenment of some kind, or like an awakening, because prior to that, I mean, there was never. I've always been a Muslim. There was never a time where I didn't have a conversion experience. Alhamdulillah, Allah never tested me with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I suffered from too many doubts growing up. Alhamdulillah, I wasn't exposed to very many. But as I got older, you are naturally, and I kind of got used to ignoring them. I kind of got used to just like shutting up, okay, another guy insulting Islam, making some arguments I can't really respond to, but just whatever. Islam, as Muslims, we're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I got sick of it. I got tired of it. I got really fed up, being like an intellectual ragdoll, just waiting for the next Islamophobe, waiting for the next Christian missionary, some next far right activist to come and just bash Islam, and I was just gonna have to like hide in my shell. I was like a turtle.
Yeah.
But then when I was about 15 or 16, I got acquainted with I got familiar with a lot of Speaker's Corner content, right? I started, and I don't know exactly, like, it was kind of a blur, to be honest, but all I know, at one point, I didn't even know what Speaker's Corner was. Next thing I knew, a few months later, it's all I was watching for fun. I wasn't even touching my Xbox, which honestly, which freaked out my mom a bit, because that was like because that was like my thing growing up. I loved video games. I still do to an extent, but not as much anymore. But when my Xbox started collecting dust, my mom honestly got a bit concerned. Like, Rumzi, I'm usually ripping you away from your Xbox. Now I'm about to beg you to start playing again. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And basically, it's because I honestly found something that I realized I'd always wanted, but I never knew I wanted. When I started watching Speaker's Corner content left, right, and center, I mean all day, all night long, when I had a free moment, it gave me something that I never had before. It made me feel, as a Muslim, intellectually superior. It made me feel, how do I say this? It gave me a new perspective I didn't know existed. I had grown up feeling like, as a Muslim, I was always going to have to be like an intellectual ragdoll. But then I realized, we Muslims, with our Islam, we're not just, not only are we not intellectual ragdolls, we are the intellectually superior. Islam is the intellectually superior. Islam is the solution to every problem there is. Yeah. It is the only worldview that satisfies the heart and the aql and the intellect. How do I say this? I started to, it's something I didn't realize I was missing prior to that. It's something when I realized I had it, I realized it solved a problem I always had. I never knew I had. I was tired, like I keep saying this over and over, I was tired of just being intellectually weak and feeling like an intellectual ragdoll. But when I saw all these brothers at Speaker's Corner, just all these arguments against Islam, bam, 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 like it's not like swatting flies. Like, it's that easy? Like, it's like really? It's that easy? Like,
if you have the knowledge. Yeah, you need to get the knowledge.
Absolutely. I was like, it's that easy. It's almost like I felt like a sleeping giant was woken within me. And I guess once I had that and kind of enlightenment for myself, and I had that new confidence, that new a level of iman, right? Mm-hmm. I realized, wow, I was missing that my whole life, and almost everyone around me is missing that. How many people younger have that level of? I mean, I'm not saying I have like I'm not nothing special, but I mean that enlightenment I had, that boost of iman I had, which honestly has remained fairly the same ever since. Yep. In fact, if anything's gone up. That's something that's needed for so many people, especially younger people.
Yes,
and people in general. And that's actually why every time I learned something like new, I rushed to tell my mom, like, Mom, did you know this? Mom, did you know that? I've always been like this with my mom. Yeah. And I was like, Mom, did you know? And it would drive my sisters crazy. My sister's absolutely crazy. Like, oh, here he comes with another fun fact. But I would like sit my mom down, like, Mom, did you know this? I learned this. I learned that. Like, have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? And I realized more people need to know this. More people need to feel this. And but of course, by the time I would say I was fully, like, emotionally and intellectually invested in the Dawah, not social media, just myself, emotionally and invested and intellectually invested, I was maybe, by the time I was 17/18, by then I was like, that's it. Like, I love Dawah. I want to do this one day. I don't know how. I don't know how. This is something that's going to be a part of my life forever, somehow. Mm-hmm. So between 17, 18, by the time I was 8, so between 16 and 18, that phase from not being interested at all to being obsessed, that was that phase. And then when I was 18, between 18 and 19, I started to get acquainted with a lot of that's a whole story on its own. But I became acquainted with some fairly well-known people in the Dawah. some fairly knowledgeable people, and that boosted me. That opened my doors to more opportunity, and alhamdulillah. And eventually, when I was about, sorry, that's my phone. When I was 19, there was an app I downloaded called Clubhouse, which I don't recommend people download. It's a very toxic app, but I personally, it benefited me a lot because it taught me how to deal with people, if that makes sense. It exposed me to every caliber of Islamophobe you can think of, which again, this is why I'm not recommending people download it, but I was surrounded by knowledgeable people, so it wasn't a big deal, but most people don't have that privilege. So it's a very dangerous app. Yeah. Like my sister was thinking about it. I was like, don't you dare. Don't. I know that sounds a bit hypocritical of me, but don't you dare. What was I saying? No, so I downloaded that app. And it was suggested to me by one of those brothers. And I basically, how do I say this? I got exposed to everything, literally everything. Some of the most bizarre worldviews, some actual understandable arguments against Islam, and some of the most bizarre, some of the most like head scratching arguments you can ever think of, and some of the nicest people I've ever met, and some of the most outright disgusting enemies of Islam, like a wide caliber of a wide spectrum, you could say, of people and arguments against Islam. And that did a couple things for me. One, it improved my, not public speaking, but it improved my ability to communicate, which I'm still working on, to be honest. Two, it built a lot of patience within me. And I'm not trying to big myself up here, but it does build. You do develop a thicker skin when you hear people. When you just have to learn sometimes to just kind of sit there and just kind of take it, like, okay, all right, all right, sure, all right, cool. All right. You learn how to deal with it. You learn how to go about yourself when you hear people bashing Islam. When you hear this, that, the other, you learn. Basically, the best source of knowledge is experience. So when you experience it over and over, you learn how to deal with it. You learn how to not ignore it. You learn how to deal with it the right way, the proper way. And that was the most important thing. A lot of people think, and I did learn a lot. I learned a lot, like, because I met a lot of knowledgeable people there. I learned a lot from an Islamic perspective, of course, and how to deal with many arguments. But the most important thing, which I think is lacking in most people and a lot of people, is the ability to handle oneself in those situations. Because when you are giving dawah, whether you like it or not, you have the whole ummah represented. You're representing the entire ummah, whether you like it or not. I can't tell you how many times it absolutely boils my blood when I see Muslims who might be knowledgeable. They have knowledge. Like, I see them on TikTok, I see them on different platforms, even on YouTube. On YouTube streams, I see them. They're not necessarily not knowledgeable, but they just don't have that social intelligence of how to deal with people bashing Islam, bashing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'm not saying that's something you should like. It's not something you should like. But me personally, I over time learned that speaking with people who are openly cursing Allah, openly insulting our Prophet, is a waste of time. It is a waste of time.
Yep.
There are a lot of kuffar out there. There's a huge market out there, as I like to say, right? A huge market out there, right? You don't have to keep going after or trying to speak to those who don't want to be spoken to, or don't. Why would you do that? Why would you? There's plenty of fish in the sea. Why do you insist on the shark? Right?
Yeah.
Why? Literally any fish in the sea would work.
Mm-hmm.
That experience of when I downloaded that app, and by the way, I'm still on that app right now. I still go on that app fairly often, right? So it's been a couple years.
You don't recommend this app?
No, I do not. No, I don't. It's even amongst the Muslims, there's a lot of issues there. Like, it's a toxic app, right? It's kind of like American football. Like they do it, but they don't recommend people do it. You know what I'm saying? That makes any sense? Like, guys, we do it. We're good at it, but don't do it. Yeah. But I'm serious though. One thing, the biggest lesson that taught me was learning how to handle myself. I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I still make mistakes every day, but I would have never been able to handle giving dawah. I would have never had it taught wisdom. It teaches wisdom and hikmah of who to speak to, who not to speak to. It especially taught me how to differentiate between those who are sincere, those who are not. You can tell the kind of questions he's asking, the tone of voice he's using. Okay, this guy's a waste of time. Get him out of here. And someone, maybe he's asking the same questions, but you can tell they're sincere. To that filter, because speaking with insincere people is the biggest hindrance to dawah, in my opinion. It's not lack of knowledge. It's not lack of knowledge. I mean, lack of knowledge is definitely there, but it's not picking your battles wisely. That, in my opinion, is the biggest hindrance. Because, in fact, when you don't pick your battles wisely, you've lost the battle before you've even started. You know, I see people on Islamophobes' lives on TikTok. I'm like, Akhi, you're fueling his flame. You're literally, he's using you to bash Islam. He's using you. You're doing him a favor. You're helping him. Why? If Muslims, if you stopped going to his lives, he wouldn't be able to do them. It's, you know, and the same thing on YouTube as well. I see many people, Muslims, who maybe have good intentions, but they go on these Islamophobes' lives. People who curse Allah and His Messenger left, right, and center. Guys, there's a lot of people out there who disagree with Islam who don't curse Allah and His Messenger. There's a lot of people like that. You don't have to. It's people think you have to be both. No, you can. Someone can not agree with Islam and not be a bigot.
Yes.
It's distinguishing, picking your battles, picking the battles you fight is the biggest. How do I say this? It's the biggest. People not being able to pick their battles in dawah is, in my opinion, the biggest hindrance to the dawah. That's what I would say. But anyway, back I went on a tangent a bit there. But that experience on that app taught me that and prepared me for it. And then I started my channel, my actual channel, because by this time I didn't have a channel. I had the app for maybe a year, maybe. I had it for quite some time before I even considered a channel. It was kind of like a dream in the back of my head. But then in January of, not this year, last year, January of last year, 2022, it was like the first week of January, I started my channel. The first name I thought of actually was Dawah over Dunya, but I spent about a month trying to change it. And I couldn't think of anything else.
I like the name. It's a great name.
I found it out, but a lot of people, believe it or not, were telling me that's a bit too basic of a name.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I mean, I like it, but okay, I'll think of something else. And I thought of all sorts of different names, and I was driving people around me absolutely crazy. But then eventually I was like, all right, you know what? Screw it. Just stick with Dawah over Dunya. It works. Makes sense. Halas. And but believe it or not, at the very beginning, my channel was just intended to post recordings from Clubhouse. That's the only thing I was meant to do. Just post recordings of conversations. Like, oh yeah, because people ask me all the time. You know, I was one of the younger brothers. Like, hey, listen, you know, he's younger, he's learning. I was fine with that. It made sense. You know, can you do some recording? Can you record the conversations for us while you're listening? Yeah, sure, why not? I'll put them on YouTube for you guys. Why not? But then I had an experience where, so mind you, by this time I'm 20 years old, right? I'm 20 years old by this time. So just to recap, 16 to 18 is when I developed the passion. 19 to 20-ish, or I guess 16 to 19 maybe is where I built the passion. 19 through 20 is when I started doing it actively for myself on a small scale on that app. And then 20, and this is where we're at right now, 20 until now is the YouTube phase. So at 20, I start the channel just you know, a place to put all these recordings. So I had a lot of them. And I had a good data plan, so lots of recordings. And the what do you call it? But then eventually I had an experience where I met some Muslims. I visited the Muslims at Stanford University, believe it or not, the well-known Stanford University in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I had an interesting experience. So I met one of those brothers on Clubhouse, actually. That's how we connected, through Clubhouse. And I had found out from those brothers that there was actually an ex-Muslim, believe it or not, on campus who was in their Islamic studies classes. Yes, in their Islamic studies classes. And by the way, this is not just an ex-Muslim like who's just minding his business. And he's just an ex-Muslim, whatever. Like, okay, that's on him, whatever. No, this is like an active ex-Muslim. Like he's dedicating his life to just to refuting Islam. And I was a bit interesting. And so what one of the brothers did, may Allah bless him, he was also a Palestinian brother like myself, like me, grew up here and everything, same background as me. And he sent me some of the screenshots of some of the arguments and some of the because the way the classes work is a lot of the assignments, they're they're designed so that everyone sees your answers and everyone responds to each other. That's how they're designed.
Right.
So he sent me some screenshots of some of the arguments, some of the claims, and some of the different things this guy was saying. And I'm like, hey, I thought you guys, are you, this is happening at Stanford?
Yeah.
I thought like the basic level of mistakes, the basics level of false information. I'm like, actually, does your professor grade your work? I thought this was Stanford. I thought you guys had very high expectations. I'm in community college, and even I have people have higher expectations of me. What's going on here, man? And this is why I learned that Islamic studies in the West, in Western academia, is a complete joke. This is just my opinion. Western academics teaching Islam is a complete joke because they don't have any interest in accurately representing Islam. Mm-hmm. In fact, on Clubhouse, I'm not going to say his name, but I met a particular Harvard professor who is from the Ismailis, a heretical. They're a group of people who believe in all sorts of deviancy. They're a radical offshoot of Shi'ism. Right. Imagine how far-fetched you have to be that even the Shia do takfir of you. The Shia, you're a radical offshoot of the Shi'ism. Like, imagine how bad you'd have to be, right? Yep. Okay, like that's the level. But this guy was the Islamic studies professor at the university, at Harvard University. I met him on this app, right? That's just an example. But anyway, back to the Stanford incident. I realized, I'm like, Akhi, what? How is he getting away with this? This makes no sense. I thought you guys are at Stanford. You have high expectations. It's Stanford, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the Oxford of the United States, of the Western United States. And so I took those screenshots. I look at them, and I obviously I helped him. I pointed out, bro, this is a mistake. This is a mistake. That's a complete lie. That's a complete misquotation. Like, I'm just pointing out all these things. I don't know who's paying your professor. And then eventually I showed them to some brothers, some very good brothers of mine on Clubhouse, some very knowledgeable ones. I'm not going to say who it was, but some of them you guys have probably heard of. Yeah. And I showed them these. I'm like, guys, I'm thinking of making some videos about these, just like to make an example out of them, you know? And then funny enough, one of the brothers, he said something to me. He said, Rumzi, why would you make a video about some random kid at Stanford? Why not do it against, and I think this is, you're going to talk about this later. Why not make a video? Why not refute apostate prophet's latest video? I'm like, I kind of hesitate. I'm like, okay, this escalated very quickly.
Yes.
Okay, I guess, sure. And I needed, I mean, it was my first time, so I needed a little bit of guidance, but I did it. And it's still on YouTube. It's still available. That's my response videos, not the shorts. We'll get the shorts later. Shorts is the next part of the journey. But I made my first ever edited response video, maybe 10 minutes long. And turns out I was actually not that bad at it. I did it pretty well. I took a video editing course in high school, so I actually had a little bit of experience doing that. And the people loved it. It wasn't getting that many views. My channel was still very, very small. It was literally just a couple, maybe 100 subscribers at this point. But the people loved it. They were like, wow, this is good stuff. This is not that bad. This is your first time doing this? I was like, it's arguments. I mean, it's a bad argument I'm dealing with. And I know how to edit videos. It doesn't take that much. Which goes to show you, it doesn't take as much as one would think to do this. To get
into this. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I made one, and then I was like, it wasn't that hard. I mean, it was time consuming. It wasn't easy, especially your first time, but it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just do one more. I did. And then I thought I'd do one more, and then I did. And I thought I'd do one more, and I did. And I did a couple more, and I did. And I think I made a total of maybe 5 or 6 of those. And then eventually I was like, I'm noticing YouTube Shorts are a thing. They're a very popular thing. I'm like, let's try it out. Let's what the heck. And then eventually I realized that making YouTube Shorts was actually easier for me. I was better at it and easier. It was easier to do because those videos, those response videos, those edited response videos, those actually took a long time for me to make. I'm talking most of the day. It was just, I was, and so eventually I started making YouTube Shorts. And so mind you, by this time I started making YouTube Shorts, it's maybe my 2nd or 3rd month on YouTube, maybe. Right. Okay. So this might've been February, March of last year. Yes. And so at this time I started making YouTube Shorts, and all I would do is I would go on Facebook, and because I'm in those Facebook groups where there's Muslims and Christians just bashing each other. I hate it. But I found some of the stupidest, some of the most hilarious arguments against Islam there, right? Like I'm talking things like, if Islam is true, why are Muslim countries poor? Like those kind of arguments, like those, which is not true, but I mean that level of intellect, right? You know what? If Islam is true, why are so many Muslim countries a desert? Like those kind of arguments, right? Like the kind that just like
why even respond?
Right? No, those are not worth a response. But I just kind of likes to make an example out of them just for the fun of it, because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know any better. I decided, I'll take screenshots of these and I'll make arguments. And there were some decent ones. There were some decent arguments as well. Like, okay, it's a bad argument, but maybe someone might think it's semi-okay. And so I'd respond to those, and I would make maybe one YouTube short a week, maybe two. And some weeks I would just not make any. There was even a couple of weeks where I didn't make any at all. And then October comes by, right? October comes by. I turn 21. And I remember, actually, it was the end of October. I'm looking down at because I look at my analytics all the time. And I'm like, whoa, I gained like 100 subscribers yesterday. Mind you, by this point, I was getting used to, I'm getting 2-3 subscribers a week, right? 2-3 subscribers a week. All of a sudden, I got 100 in a day. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Okay, interesting. And then, so this was the end of October when I realized this. And then from the end of October, so mind you, by the end of October, how many subscribers do you think I have? You might think, oh, I don't know, maybe a couple thousand, a few thousand. No, I had less than 800.
Really? Wow.
By the end of October of last year, mind you, this is 9-10 months, about 10 months actually, into 9/10 months into the journey. We're less than 1,000 subscribers in. In fact, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. I went to Palestine in July for the summer, right? I think you said you saw those videos. I went to, and when I made that, it's actually the first video you see when it's on my channel.
Yes.
When I made that video, I had maybe 500. I was just doing it because I love the idea of making content, right? It was like trying to fulfill a dream before the dream actually came. And I did a number of YouTube shorts in Jerusalem and at the Dead Sea, in Jaffa, on the coast of Palestine. We even prayed Jummah at a mosque on the coast of Palestine. And it was an amazing experience. That's what, as I said, I go back to Palestine every now and then. To keep connected to my to who I am. And so, but through that time, through those shorts I was making, through those 9-10 months when I was in Palestine, I would do live streams with 3-4 people, literally 3-4 people. I would get shocked. Like I would be so happy. I'm like, yes, we have 10 people watching. Alhamdulillah. It's amazing. I'm serious.
That's real though. It's so that's what it should be about. It shouldn't be about numbers. People get caught up in this numbers.
Yeah. But the thing is, naturally, when there's only 3 people watching, you're just kind of like, it's natural. I can't, it's I just like, man, I literally have like a whole view of the mountains of Palestine behind me. I'm doing that live stream. I'm like, hey, we got 1, 2, 3, 3 people. Let's go. Oh, 8 people. We have 10 people watching. Allahu Akbar. I look back at that and I'm just like, oh man, how times have changed. And basically, so we're gonna get back to that 10 month timeline, the time frame. At that point, the views, so here's what happened at that time. Now, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not. I started a TikTok at this time. Okay. Now my TikTok following, by the way, isn't all that high. I mean, alhamdulillah, it's about, I think we're at 16,000 or 17,000. So it's decent, alhamdulillah. But the TikTok following was never really that high. But for some reason, literally like the same week I started my TikTok, the YouTube views just went like this to Really? It was so weird. I have no idea why. And the funny thing is, I even did a poll on my channel at one point. I said, I'm thinking, okay, maybe these people just found me from TikTok, maybe. Because I would always put the link of my channel on my TikTok. Mm-hmm. But then I'm looking at like what percent of these people actually found me from TikTok? 3%, 4%. I'm like, and then I find out most of these people actually found my content from YouTube suggestions. And I'm like, okay. Now, I don't know if it's a coincidence. As soon as I start a TikTok with the same name, YouTube just all of a sudden starts suggesting my content so much more. It gets the algorithm going. So I guess maybe I'm not saying that that's proven, but maybe that's a recommendation I would give to somebody, whoever like starts a YouTube channel. Now, I don't know if you should do it right away or do it eventually, but starting a TikTok definitely does help. It seems like it. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not like, don't quote me on that. But I don't know if I don't think it's a coincidence that for 10 months, no views. I started TikTok and then all of a sudden,
yeah,
Allah knows best. And then, so back to it, January to end of October, I think by the end of October, I had my first 1,000. Mind you, that was a goal I had by the end of the year. Like, just by the end of the year, I want to get my first 1,000. But by the end of October, we go from, a few hundred to 1,000. Okay. And then by the end of October till December, we ended with about 30,000, 30 or 40,000.
Wow.
Let me repeat that. From January to October, maybe 800, less than 1,000 for sure, less than 1,000. And then from the end of October till December, 30K.
Gosh.
And then so that was December of last year. So then January of this year until now, we're in July right now.
Oh my
we're at just over 100,000. We're at over 100,000. Just over 100,000 now.
Well done. That's great.
Long story short, 18 months.
Yeah.
First 9-10 months resulted in less than 1,000.
Yeah, it's been less than a year.
Yeah, since a year since that tipping point.
Yeah,
right? So about 18 months. So the first 9-10 months, not even 1,000, maybe 1,000 at the very end. And then from that point until now, another 9-10 months later, 103,000. So basically, the channel I mean, I don't know if I would count those first 9 months because we got almost nothing, just 1,000 maybe, 9-10 months. But then, so basically, those 103,000 all came within the last 9 months, subhanAllah. And it's I remember, the funny thing is with streams, because obviously streams are a big part of my channel as well. What do you call it? I started streaming a lot. Like, I've been streaming since the very beginning. I was streaming in Palestine last year, right? But I would say I started streaming routinely maybe November or December of last year, right? That's when I started doing regular streams. And then I'll be honest though, I don't remember when the stream started getting 7, 8, 9 hours long. I even had one that was 10. I don't know how I really don't know how I do it. I really don't.
I don't know how you do it.
When you're just there, when you're in the zone, you're just in the zone. I don't even drink coffee.
I know.
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink soda. I don't even drink.
Dedication is there. Your dedication, mashallah, is there.
No, and it's look. I will say this: it wouldn't be possible. I have a number of very sincere brothers who come onto my streams all the time, and they honestly, the streams would not be nearly as long if it weren't for them. But I'm gonna have to give them some shout outs, like brothers Neil Castro, brother Ali, brother Khudur, brother brother Fawad. All these brothers, all these amazing brothers, they always come on my channel, and even like brother Wissam and a number of amazing brothers, they come onto my channel, and they honestly, they take, like, if it was just myself, that the stream would maybe be 2-3 hours long, maybe. With them, it just extends, because some conversations last a lot longer than you think.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, it's not, I can't take like all the credit for those streams being that long, because people think I'm talking for that long. I'm not. I can't. I wish, but no. It's a number of brothers, a number of very dedicated, very sincere brothers who come on and contribute, right? And and also a number of people we've had accept Islam, alhamdulillah, through those streams, right? So even like, I can't tell you how many times where someone comes up on the stream and I think, oh, Brother Sioni comes on the streams as well. May Allah bless him.
Yeah, mashallah, Brother Sioni. He sent in a super chat, said, love and respect to both panelists all the way from Australia. Alhamdulillah, amazing sister, brother in Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you both here in the dunya and the akhirah. Ameen. Yeah. Listening intently while trucking. It's so nice of you to send that comment in. Thank you, brother. And I don't know what trucking is. I'm assuming you're in a truck and you're
a trucker, like an actual trucker. Like he drives a truck.
He's driving a truck. Well, I hope it's going well.
Yeah, no. Same thing with Brother Neil Castro. They're such amazing brothers. It's may Allah bless them both. But what do you call it? But definitely without those brothers, like these brothers, the streams would not last nearly as long. So people think I'm talking for 10 hours, for 8-9 hours. I'm like, guys, I wish I was. I don't have it. I don't have that in me. I'm young. I'm not that young. I'm not that energetic. It's no human being has that within them, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it's definitely and also not only that, but also the YouTube Shorts as well. I remember actually There's one particular YouTube short that's just about to hit 3 million views. That was the first short to ever do well, like to do very, very well. And here's the thing, you see, it didn't get 3 million views instantly. It kept growing gradually. It kept getting 5,000, 10,000 views per day, literally up until now. Literally up until now. Imagine this. I uploaded that video several months ago, last year. I think maybe it's been close to a year, right? But every single day, it still gets thousands and thousands of views. So, you know, a lot of people think that, oh, these shorts, you know, they go viral instantly. No. I have another short that just reached 1 million of views literally just 2 days ago. I put up that short over maybe 150 days ago. I saw that 153 days maybe. And, you know, no, why? It doesn't get, obviously it didn't just get 1 million views in a day and then remain stagnant. It does this. It keeps doing that. It keeps doing a lot of videos, they do this and then they do this. They kind of stay stagnant. They go like this, they go and then kind of like that. And I've even had some videos that did this where they got some good views, they would go on like this, and then they went like this again several months later. I can't explain it. But you know, it's
algorithm really, it's just what hits, right?
Yeah, no, it's you definitely learn you learn to distinguish between what will do slightly better than other content. Now, not always. I mean, it's not foolproof. But alhamdulillah, it's definitely when that first video reached 1 million views and then it reached 3 million. I remember filming it and I remember just thinking, oh, man, it's like even to this day, like I remember the most recent one to reach 1 million. I think I have one that's almost at 3 million, one that's at 1.1 million, and then one or two more that might be at 1 million, maybe one or two more. I remember filming those and thinking, okay, this is just going to be another short, whatever. And then I'm looking back at it, I'm like, dude, you had no idea 1 million people were going to see you. Yeah, like, dude, you gotta take this a bit more seriously, man. And like, we gotta wake up. 1 million people could see this. Yeah. So you know, it's subhanAllah. But definitely, it's been a journey. Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing from Allah. I've met so many amazing people. In fact, a lot of them are in the live in your live chat right now, right? A lot of amazing. I mean, they know who they are. May Allah bless all of them. They but here's the amazing part, though. The most amazing part about those live streams, and even the shorts as well. The audience, I realized over time, was a very young audience. And that was something that meant the most to me. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times where I would be on my live stream and I'll ask, by the way, wait, and I'll be like, one person wants to, because I always have a policy. If you want to come on my stream, you have to be above the age of 18. You have to, just to kind of, because I don't want to get sued, right? Yeah. And I'm too broke to get sued. But you know, I'll be saying, listen, guys, you have to be above the age of 18. And then someone will come on the backstage and like, hey, by the way, how old are you? Just to be clear, I'm 14. I'm like 14, like 13, 11. What? Right?
Oh, that's mad. I didn't know that actually. That they're such young people. Yeah, I didn't think actually. I always assumed that everyone on YouTube is older, but no, there's kids.
Like, don't you people have lives? Like, I would have never been interested at this. I was barely interested at 15, 16. That's when I got started. I'm like, you guys are 11, 12, 13. You guys are interested in this stuff.
That's good, though. Mashallah, that's good.
I never saw that coming. I never expected that. And so, you know, and then I'm asking, wait a minute, 11? Wait, this might have been someone I've been seeing in the live chat for weeks and months. I'm like, wait, you've been 12 years old this whole time? And then I'm like, wait a minute. How old are the rest of you? Like in the live chat, I'm seeing 14 years old, 16 years old, 13 years old, 12 years old, 19 years old. Some people my age, 19, 20, but I'm seeing a lot of people below the age of 18, and almost everybody is like either my age or younger. And I'm like, alhamdulillah, I think, yeah, alhamdulillah, it's good. That's good, alhamdulillah. I mean, it's not good for the streams. I mean, if we want to get people on the stage, but alhamdulillah, it's a good problem to have. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, that's brilliant. I didn't think, I was actually shocked. I'm like, I would have never thought people at that age. Honestly, I don't expect most people my age to be interested in that stuff. Right? Yeah. I'm finding people 10 years younger than me, you know, 7, 8, 9 years younger than me. How? Right? My 11-year-old sister, man, this is the last stuff she'd be interested in. Right? She'd throw up probably. You know, it's so definitely, I've realized, I think we're onto something here, inshallah. You know, I think we definitely are, inshallah, by Allah's permission, we are making a comeback. The Muslim youth are making a comeback, inshallah. Yes, and I've witnessed that myself through my channel, alhamdulillah. I pray to Allah that it keeps going in that direction. We have more and more people being enlightened, if that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Maybe I should have named my channel that, something with the word enlightenment. But
you can always. But I mean, I like Dawah over Dunya.
It's too like I have the shirts. I mean, this one doesn't say Dawah over Dunya. This says cats are wajib, right? Right. And that's another thing on my channel. We try to keep it as fun and as relaxed as possible. I made a shirt that says cats are wajib because we love cats. We have the brothers, like brother Neil Castro. He always brings his cat Ramadi on the stream and always shows her off and always shows her doing funny stuff. She's even pregnant now, right?
Oh gosh, we have a cat as well. We've got it was supposed to be a girl cat, ended up being a boy cat. So yeah.
Oh wow, but it's like it's funny and by the way, this cat right here, the silhouette, that's actually Ramadi herself. I took a picture of her and I made it into a shirt, right? But no, alhamdulillah, we what do you call it? We put out Dawah over the new merchandise, alhamdulillah, just to kind of like boost the spirits of the people, and people loved it, alhamdulillah. It's not that many people are able to get it because most people are younger, but just the vibe it gives, alhamdulillah, it makes it's a community builder, alhamdulillah, right? We even funny thing is we're actually having something on my channel. We're gonna have a cat competition where we have people send in videos of the funniest and most adorable cats of their cats, right? Doing the funniest, most hilarious things. I've gotten some videos at my email. It's gonna be a very interesting competition, inshallah. But just the fun, obviously educational, but also the fun and cheerful and optimistic kind of environment is the kind of environment I try to give. I mean, sometimes 1 minute we'll be putting Islamophobe in his place on the stream, right? Like sometimes you have to be firm with some people. Yeah. Remember I said before, picking your battles, knowing who to be firm with and knowing who to, be more friendly with. 1 minute we're joking about someone's cat on stream. He's just showing his cat on stream. Next thing you know, we're putting an Islamophobe in his place. We have to sometimes.
Yeah.
It's that spectrum of emotion, that spectrum of what could, you just never know what could happen on Dawah over Dunya. You just never know what could happen. That's how I would say. And then last week I get a DM from you, and then here we are.
Neil, I'm so glad that you came on because your streams are insane. But I mean, there's so much that you've just said, and your story to come here is amazing. SubhanAllah. I actually didn't know you were so young, which is even better because having younger people doing this, like you said, they are the future generation.
It's the beard. People say, people tell me I'm 26, 27.
It's because you're so knowledgeable. You've got you're very grounded, mashallah. You're such a grounded person, and you've got quite you've got so much knowledge behind you, which is so good for someone at that age. Like when I was 21, I was at university thinking about going for dinner with my friends. I wasn't interested in Islam. And like you said, I mean, I think when you're born Muslim, I've said this before, you almost take it for granted, so to speak. You sort of think that you're just going to pray and you do what you do. You don't actually go and seek the knowledge. That's why reverts, when they come to Islam, they actually have more knowledge than us born Muslims sometimes, because they have to actually go and look for it, and they do all the research, and we don't do that. So it's great to hear someone else have that same view that I have. Is like, do your research. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter, if you're a revert or a born Muslim, do your research, find your knowledge, because it's not, and also, if people come at you, but even for yourself, like there was someone saying to me, I was on a live stream the other day, and the brother was saying to me, some people don't even know what is fard when you do wudu. And there's so many people, born Muslims, like, what is fard when you do wudu? And they might be doing wudu wrong, and then their salah is wrong, and then,
What's a fard? Never heard of it,
Yeah, exactly. So you really need to pay attention. You need to do your research and make sure what you're doing is right. Don't just listen to, the elders and expect that they know everything, because they probably don't.
Well, listen to your elders, but also don't be a robot.
Yes, exactly. But another thing that we were going to move on to next was Islamophobes and people, you're so well for standing up for Islam, like we were saying, and against the haters of the deen. And you did mention apostate prophet, Christian Prince David Woods.
Who?
I know. Oh, I like what you said about
never heard of him.
Not giving these people a stage, not giving these people their dues, because it's not worth it. What is the point? Because first of all, I didn't know that these people existed until I came to YouTube. I didn't know that.
Lucky you.
There were so many like Christians and haters of Islam. And when you come to YouTube, I'm giving Dawah, why are you on my channel wanting to hate on me? Like, you're a Christian, I'm a Muslim. Let's respect each other's religion. It's about peace. I don't need to be a Christian. You don't need to be a Muslim. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
We can have have your disagreements, but definitely just, it doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't have to be.
Yep. What are your thoughts on them, if you have any at all?
What are my thoughts on some of the most well-known certified trolls on YouTube? I mean, if you've seen my content, I mean, look, this actually, funny enough, this gets me into like, because oftentimes people, what they say, I've some compliments I've gotten about my content is that I incorporate a good amount of emotion, not emotion. The tone of voice you use is key. The emotion you use is key. The jokes you involve is key, right? So, it's, how do I say this? I'll be honest, sometimes I make a joke out of these people in my shorts. I do. These people make a joke out of Allah and his messenger. I have no problem making a joke out of them. No problem. Zero regrets here. I have no shame at all. Some people you respond to differently, but these people, when I respond to my, if you go to my YouTube shorts where I'm responding to a puss or apostate prophet, whichever you want to call them, you could see it in the tone of my voice. Like, I don't have any, like, I'm not speaking to him with any respect. I'm speaking calmly, of course. I'm speaking collectively, but you can tell in my tone of voice, like, this guy's just like run along, you little, like, I don't care. You are not my class, right? It's that kind of like that. So, I mean, you can kind of tell from the tone of my voice that I use when I speak about these people, or when I address these people in my shorts. I don't have jack squat respect for them. I don't. In fact, in the last YouTube short I made against Mr. Hammer Time Wood, aka David Wood, right? I literally said something on the lines of, yeah, so usually the guy with the PhD is teaching the college kid. Unfortunately for today, we're gonna flip that script. All right. I don't got no respect for you. I don't see you as any kind of intellectual authority at all. I don't see you as having any intellectual weight at all. None. I don't have any respect for you. That's that simple. That's like the kind of message I send without saying those words. Like I have no respect for you. It's like swatting a fly, right? It's just like, whoosh, get out of here. So, what do I think of these people? These people are certified trolls. These people are for the intellectually lazy. They feast off of the intellectually lazy. The average Christian who just doesn't like Islam, or the average atheist maybe who doesn't like Islam. You really think they're going to give Islam the time of day? Let's go read the Qur'an. Let's go look into, let's go read the biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him. No, these people don't give a jack, whatever. They don't care. I'm holding back language, obviously, but it's your kids might be listening in the background. These people, they don't have any interest in Islam. They don't have any interest in Islam. In fact, but you might wonder then, okay, well, why are they talking about Islam? Why are they? What's the benefit? If Islam doesn't matter to them, I'm talking about their fan base. I'm not talking about their fan base right now.
Right.
It's because they need Islam. Now, of course they need Islam, but what do I mean by that? They need Islam in a different way that we say they need Islam. We say they need Islam because, it's the only way to Jannah, right? You need to go, it is the only objective truth out there. It's objective faith out there, I should say. Okay. But these people need Islam for their faith, as weird as that sounds. These people need Islam. Let me repeat this. They need Islam for their faith. This is just my humble opinion. They are not confident in their faith. They do not feel that their faith is something that, what do bullies do? When they feel insecure, they bring others down so that they can feel higher. That's what they do. Now, alhamdulillah, we come and say, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're not confident in your faith. That's on you. But you're not going to drag Islam down with you. You're not going to do that. You're not going to, it's like, I'm falling, I'm going down, but I'm going to try to bring Islam. No, not going to happen. All right. Yeah. You want to argue against Islam? We will defend our Islam. We are not intellectual rag dolls like I once thought I was. I once thought we were. No. We're not Christians. We don't believe in turning the other cheek, right? You punch us in the nose, we'll bat you in the back. It's like, that's how it is. All right. We're not Islam. We're not pacifists. No problem whatsoever. Right. If you, as soon as you curse my God and my prophet, I have every right to intellectually slam you. Intellectually, keyword intellectually, right? Not condoning any violence or anything like that. Of course, I'm talking. I mean, unless someone's physically fighting you, that you do your thing. We're Muslim. We're not pacifists. But when these people, whether it's Apus or Christian Princess or Mr. Hasum Shimona, I like to call him, right? Or freaking Mr. Hammer Time Wood, right? These people, I openly do that to them. I don't curse Christianity, but I openly insult them left, right, and center. I have no issue. Now, I don't have any respect for these people. But here's the thing, you see, there's some people I have even less respect for. I have even less respect for them. I think less respect for them. These are the worst. These are the scum of the earth. They curse our God and our prophet. They misrepresent our God and our prophet. They're very insincere. They're very unintellectual. They're very inconsistent in their methodologies, right? I've experienced this many, many times. They don't have any level of sincerity. So long as Islam is false, the ends justify the means for them. But there's people I have even less respect for them. Not their fan base. That's the first thing. And secondly, sorry, that's my phone. And then secondly, after even lower than them are the Muslims who watch their content, the Muslims who go to their lives, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok, sorry, that's my phone, on YouTube or TikTok or whatever it may be, and they fuel their flame. Now, what does Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Qur'an tell us? In Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse 140 of the Qur'an, that we are forbidden from sitting with these people who curse Allah and His Messenger. Those who disbelieve, but not just disbelieve. It doesn't say just those who disbelieve, period. No, it says those who disbelieve and make a mockery out of Allah and His Messenger. These people we do not sit with, we cannot sit with, lest you become like them. Right? You are becoming like them when you sit with them. I can't tell you how many times, it just, like I said, it boils my blood when I see Muslims on YouTube streams, on TikTok, on maybe Instagram, and they're going to these people's lives and confronting them, thinking they're doing the ummah a favor. I'm like, akhi, do the ummah a favor. Stay away. Stay away. Stop fueling his flames. It's like It's like shaitan is on your back riding you. Stop. Stop it. I'm just always like, every time I see it, I'm like, khalas, look, I can't. Guys, come on, really? Stop it. It drives me crazy. I'm serious though. It's
insane.
And that's the thing I said before. Remember I said before the thing it took me a long time to learn, but I learned learning to pick your battles. Because when you pick the wrong battle, you have automatically lost the battle. Automatically. You go to this Islamophobes live, you're just a tool for them. You're just a tool for them just to bash Islam. You're not, and I don't want that on the day of judgment. I don't want to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tell him that I sat with those, I entertained them. So not entertained. I'll call them out. Calling out somebody is different than sitting with them. I'll openly call out Apus or Mr. Hammer Time or the Christian Princess or Sam Shampoo. I'll openly call these people out and insult them like this. No problem. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala openly curses the enemies of Allah. Openly curses them, openly calls them out. Right? But the Muslims, honestly, what do we say in Islam? You have the ability to be higher than the angels or lower than the animals. When you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you obey Allah and obey His Prophet, you are above the angels. When you disobey Allah and His Prophet, you are below the animals, because the animals they don't have an intellect, they just have desires. Angels don't have a free will, they just have the knowledge. We have our physical desires and the knowledge. But these people, they keep giving into their, I don't know if it's their pride or it's their ego, whatever, maybe it's a part of your fear, your desires they give into, and they think they're doing people a favor by going to these Islamophobes live. I had people tell me, Rumzi, go debate this person, go debate that person. I'm like, guys, I don't talk to those who curse my God and my prophet. There's even one particular, I'm not going to say his name, but there's one particular guy who openly rips and eats the Qur'an, and there were some people who were openly condoning him, saying, yeah, that's fine, that's justified. I'm like, guys, I'm not going to stoop down to that level, go talk to him. I have 3 little sisters at home. I have if I want to argue, I have 3 little sisters at home. If I just want to argue for the fun of it, okay. I have coyotes outside. There's coyotes here where I live. Like if I want to just make noise and argue, I can do that. I have the means to do that. But if I'm going to have an intellectual discussion with somebody, I will not discuss with these people because I don't have respect for them. You rip people. Oh, go debate this person. Go debate that person. When he apologizes when he stops insulting my God and my prophet and apologizes, then maybe I'll think about it. But until then, you don't have to be Muslim. You don't have to be Muslim. You don't have to agree with Islam. You can hate it. You can hate Islam. I don't care what you think about Islam. But if you're going to openly, I have my opinions about all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit with somebody who curses Allah, curses His messenger, and especially, like I said, the Muslims who entertain these people. I've had, in fact, some of them on the app on Clubhouse, right? Openly host these kind of people. I'm like, Akhi, fear Allah. Fear Allah. You're literally facilitating Allah's the cursing of Allah and His messenger. Fear Allah. Oh, well, look, he's being nice right now. I'm like, Habibi, I don't care if he's taking a 5-minute break. Yesterday he was cursing Allah. The day before that he was cursing Allah. I don't care if he's on a weekend today. No, I don't care. Okay? You curse my God and my prophet, I will not discuss with you. I'll call you out. I'll embarrass you. I'll intellectually humiliate you, which I have done, alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah. But I will not give you the respect of a one-on-one conversation. Not going to happen. Yeah. I'm a forgiving person. I will forgive you if you repent today. That's what the Prophet taught us. The people repented, he forgave them. But if they don't, they would not repent. Halas, that's it. We're done. I don't care. You are not my class. Yeah. I have much better. I can find barakah in many other things in life, talking to many other people. And that's why, alhamdulillah, on the channel, alhamdulillah, on Dawah over Dunya, there are some people, alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us with a number of shahadas, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, it's nothing crazy. But imagine if, instead of speaking to those people who you could tell are sincere, don't get me wrong, it's not always like, how do I say it? It's not always like perfect, right? But you can generally tell who's sincere and who's not, who just wants to know, who's just curious, maybe has misconceptions, but like, I'm curious, I want to know. But there's some people who just don't. They just don't.
Yeah, and there's no point. What's the point wasting your breath? It's not
absolutely not just your breath, but that time could be given to somebody else who actually wants to accept Islam. Someone who wants, even if they don't want to accept Islam, someone who wants to learn about Islam.
Yeah,
it's you really go, you don't throw your net where there's no fish, right? If there's people out there who are willing to learn about Islam, discuss with them. If there's people out there who are willing to curse Allah and His messenger, left, right, and center, do not stoop down to their level, because you will be on their level. Not my words. Allah says it, Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse 140. You become like them, and I don't want to be like them. That's what I would say to these people.
Yeah. Thank you for that, brother. Just have another little super chat from Jazz. Sorry, Zarion. I hope I said that right. All the love from thank you for that. All the love to you too. May Allah bless you and your family. I like what you said, brother, and I respect what you said. And if I'm honest, I never heard of these guys before I had my YouTube channel. I've never watched a video of theirs. The only way that I know about them is through other Dawah channels, watching their videos, and they've mentioned them. I think it's strange that David Wood and Apostate Prophet are BFFs. One's an atheist, one's a Christian. Their hatred of Islam unites them for some reason.
I'm telling you, they each embody the other. Like Apus, he's an atheist, but he uses Christian arguments left, right, and center.
They're just doing it to get paid. It's anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you'll see the Christian literally like religiously repeating the atheist arguments, arguments you'd never think a believer in God would make, and then vice versa. You'll find the atheist appealing to the Bible. Appealing to Bible as if it's scripture, right? Like religiously adhering to the Bible. I'm like, what's going on here, man? What's going on here? The enemies of Islam will unite over anything just to insult Allah and His messenger.
Yeah, why do you think? Well, and obviously the Christian prince, seems afraid to let his identity be known. If he was a girl, I'd understand, but he's really a tough guy. So if he wants to use one of my Nikabs, I'm happy to lend it to him. I know plenty.
If he gets embarrassed, I'll wear one too. If he gets embarrassed, I'll wear one too. If that makes you feel better, he can wear a mask. And he, no, man. Excuses. You can make claims and then make excuses all day long.
I know that, like, I know a lot of Christians and atheists, and they're not like, there's a lot of them are not like this. So I don't want people to think that this is what all Christians
yeah, for sure.
people out there. But these people have a deep-rooted hate for Islam, and there are other people out there too. Where do you think this comes from? Do you think it's mainstream media, or do you think, like I said, just to get paid? Islam is on the up. Alhamdulillah, there's so many people coming to Islam now.
Definitely.
Maybe that's what it is.
You know, you never know. I mean, look, each person is different. If some people it could be the media. Very often it is the media.
Yeah.
I do think, however, also for some people, it is they have a bit more of an awareness and more of an educated hatred for Islam. What do I mean by educated? What I mean is they recognize Islam is a quote unquote threat to their society, to their way of life. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're somebody who, I mean, look, I live in California. Okay, it's pretty obvious what's pretty prominent here. Cancel culture is looming. I don't want to get you demonetized, but it's it's pretty obvious what the views that are very popular here, and not just here, but all over, right?
Yeah.
And basically, how do I say this? They recognize that Islam is the solution to a lot of these problems, but for a lot of people, these problems are beneficial to them, right? So, for example, if you're, I mean, this is just a simple example, alcohol. Okay, there are drugs and alcohol. There's people out there. I mean, no sincere human being will tell you that drugs and alcohol are beneficial for society. No one will tell you that. They might enjoy those parts of society, but no one will tell you, yeah, you know what, a society without drugs and alcohol, that wouldn't work. No intellectually honest person would ever say such a thing. But in reality, there's a lot of people who benefit from these. There's a lot of people who benefit a lot from those problems of society. One man's problem is another man's dream, and unfortunately, as bad as it may be. And there's people out there. Put it this way: the Western Hemisphere, not the Western Hemisphere, the Western society has a very strict way of life. A very strict way of life. Now that may sound weird. It's like, well, we Muslims are usually the ones who are associated with having a strict way of life, which we do. No shame. No, that's alhamdulillah. No shame whatsoever. I know I don't look like it. I'm wearing my hat backwards. I'm wearing a Ketzar Wajib shirt. I don't look like that. May not be the first thing you think of me, but alhamdulillah, I believe in a very strict way of life, as do all societies.
Yeah.
But the difference is what the Western narrative, they try to sugarcoat it as they give it a false label as freedom. It's freedom of speech, do as you like, this, that, the other. When if you contradict their way of life, they will go crazy. Yeah. They'll go crazy. Cancel culture. Hello. They'll go crazy. I mean, nowadays, if you just tell somebody, if you just utter the words, there are two genders, I'm telling you, you'll have they'll be kicking your door down. Your every social media will be will be deleted. Everything. Well, what happened to freedom of speech? What happened to do as you like, freedom, this, that, the other? When they see, for example, when they see Muslims adhering to their Islam, they become critical. They become, well, what is this? What's it's alien to them, and understandable because it contradicts many aspects of their life. But the difference is we Muslims are honest about it. We don't say, oh, freedom, do as you like. No, not freedom. Don't do as you like. We have rules. I mean, we have respect, but we don't believe in do as you like, be as you like, do whatever you No. We have a strict way of life. And you do too, whether you want to admit it or not. Okay. But we are honest about it. We're not falsely advertising it as freedom, do as you like, be as you like. No, absolutely not. No society on earth believes in that. Some societies claim to, but no society truly believes in that. That just does not exist anywhere. So these people, when they see Islam as a threat, it's because they see it as a threat to their way of life. Now, just to be clear, I'm not one to say that we should come to the West and try to force our beliefs down people's throats. I'm not here saying that. That's not what I'm saying. But naturally, Islam. But if people are accepting Islam, Islam is appealing to them. Well, sorry, hashtag sorry, not sorry, right? Islam is beautiful. Islam is the solution. If people are recognizing that, we're not shoving it down people's throats. But if people are coming to us, well, we're not going to turn them away, are we? Right?
Yeah.
So they recognize, wow, Islam does. Now, maybe they don't say this publicly, but I genuinely do believe, not all these people, some people just genuinely have misinformation, but some people do see Islam as a genuine threat to their way of life. Not because Muslims are forcing it down their throats, but because the people's fitrah, their innate disposition is going to be awoken when Islam comes. Islam is like it gives you the first spark to a flame, right? When people, right now it's like a dormant volcano kind of, but when it's been just a small spark, cause a chain reaction, and all of a sudden people's hearts are open to Islam. People are hungry for Islam. I know of the brothers who go to give dawah in Central America and South America. People are literally hungry for Islam. They're so like the Qur'ans just disappear in a moment. Like, we don't have enough Qur'ans. We don't have enough dawah material because the people just want it so much. They're so curious. They're so, what is this? What, really? Well, you guys believe in Jesus? You guys believe in Mary? Oh, what? You guys, it's, what is all this? The people, even in the United States, there's a lot of people who accept Islam every single year. When they come across Islam, what? You guys, what? Muslims? Oh, I've heard of you guys. Wait, you're not how, like, you're nothing like I thought you guys would.
Yeah.
What? You guys believe in one God. You guys, oh, wow. Your core doctrines, just one God. Okay, one God. Yeah, they just worship one God. God sent many prophets. Abraham. No, what? You believe in Abraham? Yeah, Abraham, Noah, Moses. What? Who taught you these names? It's kind of like when one story that I love is when Jabir ibn Abi Talib, the cousin of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who was the leader of the Muslims who went to Abyssinia, right? During the first hijrah, right? Before the Muslims went to Medina, the first hijrah they made was to Abyssinia, right? Al-Habasha, which is modern day Ethiopia. And, the Ethiopian Najashi, who was the Ethiopian ruler, he was, when Jabir was explaining to them, we believe in Abraham and Noah and Moses and all these, and he became surprised, like, who taught you these names? Where do you get this from? Like, almost like, okay, there's, at first it was just like, oh, these Muslims, okay, yeah, just Muslims, yeah, some, whatever, it's just, okay, they have their book. Wait, what? You guys, Moses, Abraham, David, Solomon, Jesus, peace be upon them all, really? It sparked something in him, and he did end up accepting Islam. Many people aren't aware. He did end up accepting Islam in secret, but Allah Azza wa Jalla, from what I recall from the hadith, Allah informed the Prophet that he had become Muslim. Yeah, kind of in secret. But the point is that intrigueness, that like curiosity, that natural curiosity that Islam provides, that people have towards Islam, is what these people desperately are fearful of. Why do you think they're burning the Qur'an in some countries? Why do they feel the need to do that? You're burning the Qur'an. What do you think you're benefiting from that?
Yeah, I don't know.
SubhanAllah, these people don't realize. For every one Qur'an that is burned, another 100,000 are printed, another 100,000, inshallah, are being read by the people. Literally, I'm not even kidding. I forget which Muslim country it was. One of the Gulf countries, I think. They said, because that guy burned one Swedish Qur'an, they printed 100,000 Swedish Qur'ans. SubhanAllah. Right? But it's that the fear is not of Islam per se, because look, Christianity, for example, if people were to adhere strictly to Christianity, I think the West would be a very different place, different place. So it's not necessarily Islam per se. I mean, it is, of course, but Judaism, Christianity, even other faiths, even to an extent, all pose some level of threat to secular societies.
Yeah, faith's not cool anymore, right?
Oh yeah, of course. But there is one faith that is Christianity. I mean, Christianity has become secularized nowadays. That's just reality, all right? I swear to God, when my mom was dropping me off at the train station, we drove past LGBTQ churches. I'm not even kidding. The cross and the rainbow flag, right? I have pictures of it literally on my phone. I couldn't believe it. I got to tell people this, and people don't believe it. How often do you find Muslims caving in like this? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Muslims, there are Muslims losing their faith. Of course it happens. Yeah. But the Muslims, but no one can deny this. The Muslim ummah is the most devout ummah there is overall. There is no other faith that is practiced to the level Islam is, despite all that's happening, despite all of the efforts against faith, against religion in general, not just Islam, against religion in general. Islam is the one religion that has remained steadfast. The Muslim youth are becoming, it kind of goes like this, right? But the Muslim ummah has not suffered nearly as much as the Western societies, as the Christian world. The Christian world is very different than it was a long time ago. Very different. Yes. It's the Muslim ummah, however, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's no danger. I'm not saying that we're out of danger. Yeah. There is definitely, there is a lot of negative things going on, but I'll give an example. I've established I've been to Palestine many times. I'm not going to say which city I'm from, but I remember watching the videos of my mother's wedding. Yeah. And, back a long time ago, right? Funny, they actually got married during the Intifada, during the Palestinian uprising,
Right.
which was, there's a whole story behind that. It's ridiculous. Yeah. People with suits and dresses at the military checkpoints. It's very interesting. But the point about, I saw those videos and none of the women were wearing hijab. None of them. This was 20 years ago. This wasn't a long time ago. This was 20 years ago. None of them were wearing hijab, right? And when I went back to Palestine, all the women are now wearing hijab. All of them. All the younger. I'm talking to younger people, right? I mean, I wasn't looking for non-hijabis. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like looking for them. But you can't help but notice. I'm like, wow, like this. And I would ask my aunts, like, what's changed over 20 years? I mean, back in the day, someone below the age of 40 wearing hijab was like what? Doesn't make any sense. Nowadays, most teenagers are wearing, sisters in their teenage years are wearing hijab over there. Not all of them, obviously, but majority now. And I asked, what's changed? What's happened? And they said my aunt responded with one word. I'm not even kidding. This is her exact word. Dawah.
MashaAllah. What are your thoughts of like everything going on over there in Palestine? It makes my heart break. I don't know how it feels for you because it's, your homeland. Well, it's like, what do you think? Do you think that there'll ever be a change? Do you think that there'll ever be something?
It's definitely some, it's, I mean, it's kind of like growing up, my mom, I can't tell you how many stories my mom told me. I can't get into details. I can't get into it publicly, but look, every Palestinian family has been through a lot. There is no family on earth, Palestinian family on earth, that hasn't experienced something. Every Palestinian family, either living abroad or living there, has experienced something, right? Because every Palestinian has either been forced from their home or has experienced some form of, how do I say this? Has experienced some consequence of our occupation, of our ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
I have relatives who've been arrested many times. I have relatives, or multiple times. I have relatives who've had limbs broken. I have relatives who've been killed. Right, distant, but it's not. My family is not unique. My family really is not unique. It's there. People often, for example, if you average person, you meet an average Palestinian. Hey, what's your family like? Oh, my grandfather went through this. My uncle went through that. My sister went through this. My great grandfather, this, that, the other. Like, I'll give him my grandfather. He was born in 1948, in that fateful year, right? And he left in 1967, another very fateful year, right? He was 19 at the time, right? He came here. He drove a limousine for a number of years, right? And he eventually went back and married my grandmother, and they grew up in San Francisco, and they raised my dad in San Francisco. That's where my dad grew up. And then one thing led to another. My dad went back home, married my mom, and brought her here, and that's how I grew up here. Mm-hmm. On both sides of my family, how do I say this? My mom's side of the family is from Jaffa, the city of Jaffa, which is on the coast of Palestine, right. Which was one of the many cities that was ethnically cleansed. In fact, I'm reading about it. Actually, there's a really amazing book I'd recommend people if they want to learn about the history of how Palestine was ethnically cleansed, because a lot of people think that it was just like a consequence of events. No. This was something that was planned for decades. This was something that was planned. This was something that was premeditated long in advance before things happened, right? I would recommend the book The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine by Ilan Bape. He's actually an anti-Zionist Israeli Jewish historian. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Definitely would recommend that book for people who are interested in it. I'm reading the book myself. It's amazing. But anyway, my mom's side of the family comes from Jaffa. Yeah. And, Jaffa, many people don't know, was actually known for its oranges. Oranges were the currency of the city, pretty much. Mm-hmm. They would trade automobiles for crates of oranges. Mm-hmm. And it was a very wealthy place. And, my family, my mom's side of the family was forced from their village, which was outside of Yafa, and they moved to, I'm not going to say where exactly, but somewhere in the West Bank. I don't want to say where. And that's where my dad's side of the family is. And my dad's side of the family took many of those families in, right? Took many of when I say my dad's side of the family, I mean his village, his overall family, right? They took many of those people in. And, many events, one thing led to another. My grandfather from my mom's side was forced to flee to the Gulf region, right? And then he eventually came back. One thing led to another. Some things happened because he was very politically active, put it that way. And so he and his family, my mom's particular family, they didn't live the easiest life. I mean, no life in Palestine is easy, but they, again, it's not unique, but because of that, my mom's told me many stories of, soldiers raiding her home, her brother's almost getting kidnapped, many different things, subhanAllah. And, and then eventually, like I said, but then my grandfather on my dad's side of the family, he actually left many years prior in 1967. He's from the West Bank, but I'm not going to say where exactly. And he eventually left, built a life here, came back, married my grandmother, came back to Palestine, married my grandmother, and then eventually they had my dad. And then my dad went back to Palestine, did the same thing, and then that's why I grew up here. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. In fact, actually, funny enough, it's very sad, but there are some Palestinians I know here who can't even show me Palestine on a map. It's very sad, right? I don't know if you remember before, you asked me like what kind of family I've grown up in. I have many members of my family. They couldn't even spell the word Islam. Probably, it's sad. And not only that, but then not only are they religiously not connected, but also culturally as well, which isn't as important, but still is important. They couldn't show you Palestine on a map, and it's very sad. My father and my mother, one of their biggest goals, I mean, of course, like I said, I got most of my Islam from my mother, but nevertheless, my mother and father both wanted to ensure that me and my three sisters stayed connected to our roots, connected to our home. And we still are politically and also ethnically. I mean, I don't want to get into that, but that's why even though it's very expensive. We have a family of 6, 3 little sisters. It's very expensive to take the family there every summer or every other summer. But it's especially not because I'm in university now. My sister's about to start university. And my dad, may Allah reward him immensely. He made it possible for my mom to not have to work for most of my life, and so that she could take care of us. And not only that, but he gave us so much, including the ability to go to Palestine many times, to spend time there, to learn the language, which I'm not going to lie, still needs work for me, but it's a lot better than most people, a lot of people. My mom still cooks traditional Palestinian dishes all the time to keep us connected. I still am in contact with my cousins overseas. They've kept my parents' efforts to keep us connected, not just with our deen, but with our culture.
MashaAllah.
It's something I can never be thankful enough for. Definitely. And in fact, I went back that's hence why those videos you saw me in Palestine.
July,
why do you think that is? Because of that. And inshallah, we will be going back next summer, inshallah. And the thing is, I cannot wait to see where the channel is at that point. And it's just so weird. I remember last summer, I even did a live stream from Jerusalem, from Al-Haram al-Sharif, from Al-Aqsa behind me. I'm pointing at it. I had like 3 people watching.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, what's it going to be like one day? Now, I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly, but I always thought, one day, inshallah, when we have a semi-decent following, what's it going to be like to actually be able to share Palestine, share Al-Aqsa with so many people? And that's why I cannot wait. Inshallah, things could happen between now and then, but inshallah, we go back next year and we get to actually, sorry, there's birds outside. Okay. Inshallah, that's common. But inshallah, next time we go back, we'll have, we already do, but inshallah, have an even greater audience, to have it even greater, so that the content has an even greater impact to educate people about Palestine. Because it's a part of me wanted to keep, not politics. I don't really get into politics on my channel, but I am very openly Palestinian. I do openly express my love for my people and for my homeland, and especially through those videos you saw. And it's definitely something I do want to continue to do. And like I said, next time we go back, I can't wait. I don't know what's going to be like, but I do definitely look forward to it, inshallah.
I hope, inshallah, that the situation there eases, and for everybody there that is suffering, please keep them all in your du'as. I do keep them in my du'as. May Allah make it easy for them, and keep their faith strong and protect them from any harm. Yeah, I do. I hope that things do ease there.
I'm just seeing a comment that says those birds are praising Allah. Honestly, I have my window open all the time. I can't say how many times they'll hear coyotes outside. We'll hear birds outside. People are like, do you live next to a nature preserve or something? I'm like, a little bit, kind of, honestly.
We've got another super chat in from Farouk saying, keep it up, Muslim Mum and Rumzi. Both your streams are, I'm going to say great because I don't know what W means, but I'm assuming that means great.
Well, when. W means win.
When, okay.
It's an American thing.
So all right, I see. Thank you so much for that comment. May Allah bless you and your family. I know we've gone over. We're an hour and a half in. I apologize. We've gone so far over.
No, it's my fault. I kept it going.
No. I just don't want to take it to take over your day.
An hour and a half stream for me is like it's like my day's just getting started.
Do you know what I could actually do if I didn't have the children? SubhanAllah, I've got them.
No, I get you. Yeah,
I could do it all day as well. I love talking to people, and because I have children, I don't go out much. I know that sounds insane, right. But you're always in a routine. So when I'm online with people, it's like my social part of me comes out again, and I'm like, oh, I'm alive.
You stay home and look after your kids.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
We have a couple more questions that I just want to quickly get through. But my next question was about family. I know you've got, your sisters and your mom and your dad, and you've got your family. You seem like, well, you're only 21, so I'm sure you're not married yet. But are you thinking in the future?
Why would you just assume that about me? I'm just kidding.
Are you married?
No.
Okay.
Well, you would just assume that about me?
No, not that you're not an eligible bachelor, but you're still quite young. Like you've got also, especially for a guy.
Come on, man. Come on. I would never. Come on, man. It's if it's not obvious, come on.
Are you thinking about it? I mean, I'm assuming that's something that you want in the future. Have a family, have children.
Of course, naturally. It's half your deen, of course.
Yes, yeah. Inshallah, you find your other half that is just as dedicated to the deen as you. I think sometimes people look for love instead of what is more important, and someone's deen. As long as they're close to Allah and they're close to Islam and they know their role in Islam, then you can't go wrong. And may Allah help you find the perfect one, inshallah. And have beautiful babies in the future. Inshallah.
I can't say how many times someone in my live chat, someone actually made this joke. I should make a T-shirt. I would never do this. Someone thought I should make a T-shirt that says, "Okay, my name is Rumzi," because I get personal questions all the time in the live chats. I should just okay, look, guys. My name is Rumzi. I'm 21. I'm a Sunni. I'm studying this in school. I'm single. I'm Palestinian. It sounds like the most narcissistic thing ever, but honestly, we get so many personal questions in the live chat to the point where my moderators literally just post comments saying, "Okay, guys, before anyone asks, Rumzi's this old, he's this tall, he's single, he's Sunni, he's Muslim, he's this, he's that." I always like, guys, look at the size of the bed behind me. Do I look like I'm married? Get out of here, man. Come on.
I know you do assume, like when I go on live streams, I just assume everyone knows that. Somebody thought I was a white weaver, and I was like, no, I'm Pakistani, I'm Muslim, I'm born Muslim. Like you just assume everybody knows, but they don't, So that's why I always find I say the same things as well all the time. I'm saying the same.
I have people asking me if I'm a Hafiz. I'm like, guys, I'm not a Hafiz. I'm not a student of knowledge. I'm literally just a Muslim kid.
Good. That's a compliment. I told you your knowledge is so great.
No, but what I don't like. I'm not like reciting Qur'an left, right, and center. I'm not like my Arabic sucks. No. Like my Arabic is not that great. But I'm like, what, is it just because I'm a beard and I'm a Muslim and I have a platform that makes me a Hafiz, that makes me a student of knowledge? No, absolutely not, guys. I always say this. I'm just an independent researcher. I'm independent.
Everybody gets the knowledge from somewhere, right. And that's sort of like my last question is sort of related to that about young Muslims. And like you said, there's so many young Muslims, which is new to me as well, like that young, under 16. Yeah. But what advice would you give them for growing up in the West, but they aren't connected to Islam, and they're lost in the traps of the Dunya, unfortunately, which happens?
Well, I'll give advice to two people. First, I would advise them, this life is temporary. You don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow. There's people who I actually have a very good friend of mine who passed away like about a year and a half ago. He was 23 at the time. He was somebody who I had many conversations with, somebody I It was a very good friend of mine. He lived in Albania, actually, lived overseas, but I knew him fairly well. He helped me. He was actually one of the inspirations behind my channel, who inspired me to start my channel, right? And he actually did a lot of stuff for the Dawah behind the scenes. And he was disabled. He was physically disabled, but he did so much for the Dawah behind the scenes. But anyway, he ended up passing away. May Allah reward him for all he ever did, and may Allah forgive him and give him Jannat al-Firdaus. But, you know, and he was only 23, very young. There's people younger than me in my own community who've passed away. They just didn't wake. They went to sleep and didn't wake up. You only have a certain number of beats your heart for your heart. Every time your heart beats, that's one less heartbeat you have, right? No, that's real. Sorry,
it's true. It's scary, but it's so true. You take it for granted. Yeah.
You have a specific number of heartbeats that you will have. Every time your heart beats, you are one less. You know, why do people celebrate their birthdays? Why do people celebrate, you know, New Year's Eve? It's because they're happy for another year. But just imagine if they knew how long they would be living. Would people be celebrating their birthdays? Absolutely not. It's like, guys, it's just like, that's one less year of my life gone, just like that, gone. You know, I mean, alhamdulillah, you know, people say I am still young, but honestly, I feel time flying very quickly.
Yeah.
It's especially with the channel since I started the YouTube channel. You know, it's don't fall for the don't deceive yourself into thinking that you're going to be here forever. You know, it's, you know, people have like people, we think we're living. We think that we're chasing our whims and our desires and this, that, the other. You know, it's people like, they like to draw up this canvas of life. Like, okay, I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to get this degree and buy this house and marry this woman or this man and, you know, have these children, buy this car, do this, go to this place and that place. And right at the end, like they don't deny death. Like right at the very end of this journey, this beautiful canvas, right at the end. Okay, we can have death right there. I can plan for death right there, but not just any death. It has to be like a really powerful, really dramatic, really, really inspiring, you know, death. Habibi, the reality is Allah doesn't work around my plan and your plan, right? No. Allah is the best of planners. Allah is the one who designs everything the way it is, you know? So, and I'll give this is the last thing I'll say about for those people. The Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, he said that people are asleep. We're asleep. But when they die, they wake up. But only when they wake up, that's it. It's too late. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, who asked, who is the most wise? He said, the most wise is the one who plans for his death. And who is the most foolish? He said, the one who chases his whims and his desires. And we need to be honest with ourselves. Which of these do we fall under? Are we from the fool? Are we from the most wise or the most foolish? And then that's my advice I would give to people who have a younger age, who are maybe who've gone off the deen a bit. But also I would give advice for Muslim parents as well. I've known of people who grew up down the street from the haram who don't pray. Down the street from the haram in Mecca who don't pray, who never performed the salah. And I know people, like my mother, for example. Well, okay, my mom grew up in Palestine, but I know people who are born and raised in the West, right? Who pray their salah perfectly. Yep. What do you think was what's very often, not necessarily always, what's most, in my opinion, the most often secret weapon, thus the secret ingredient, is our strong and dedicated Muslim parents. I can't tell you how many family members I have who I see the elders wearing hijab, going to the masjid, and I see the people younger, not even my generation, like I'm talking like the grandparents' generation, and then maybe my parents' generation. From that generation, Islam they've never uttered the shahada in their life because that effort was not made. That connection was not made. Or maybe the effort was made, but maybe it wasn't made with hikmah. You have to judge case by case. But because there's people maybe who are parents who don't make any effort, and there's some parents who maybe make effort but don't do it properly, whatever it may be. But something I learned, this is something I learned from firsthand experience from my mother, right? With a strong Muslim mother and father as well, of course. That is the biggest defense, the biggest distinguishing factor between those who grew up, even if whether you're in the West or if you're living in Mecca and Medina. Wherever you're living,
Yep.
The parents that raise you are the biggest influence upon you. Your society as well. But like I said, there's Muslims. I know Muslims who live overseas in Muslim countries, masjid on every corner. They don't pray. I know Muslims here, they've never even seen a masjid and they pray perfectly. What was the difference? Most of the time, not always, but most of the time, it was the parents that raised them. Now, of course, that's not always the case. Some people convert to Islam. They come from non-Muslim families. Some people maybe don't have religious families, but they have their own journey. Each person is different. But most of the time, most often when I see Muslims or people from Muslim backgrounds, you get what I mean, who don't practice, it's because they were not raised upon Islam.
Yes. Yep.
And that was not made. So on the one hand, my advice to younger people, what do you call it? We're asleep, but when we die, we wake up. So wake up before you die. And also my message to their elders and to Muslim parents, because we often talk about the youth, like Muslim parents, the older generation, not the youth. I'm not pointing at you. I mean, in general.
You're right. Me too. Yeah, I'm a parent.
I'm not calling you out here. Like people oftentimes we say, oh, the youth. No, of course, but Muslim parents, not the youth. You are the ones who can make the biggest difference right now. Yeah. Don't blame everything on them. You guys are the biggest. I'm calling you guys out right now. You guys are the biggest influence right now. While you still have a chance, teach your kids Islam. Raise your kids on Islam.
Yes.
Instill the flame of Islam within your children, so that when they ultimately are faced, when they're put through under all this pressure, they have something to hold on to.
Yep.
SubhanAllah.
It's so refreshing, because this is my message. This is why I came to YouTube, was for this very thing, to help mums and dads, to help parents, because I see so many parents come to me it's too late. Their teenagers are, the ghetto teenagers are wearing short skirts, want to hang around with white girls. Their boys are in gangs and into alcohol and drugs, and and I can help them, but there's only so much I can do because it's gone too far. You have to start right at the beginning.
It's like a cancer, kind of. It's kind of like a cancer. Yeah. When you catch it early, you can treat it. If you let it grow,
yes. I respect all the advice that you gave there, and I hope that helps someone. And that's why I'm doing this. That's why I do the course, why I do the fellowship. I want parents to really understand that they need to get in there, and to not blame the youth, like you said. So thank you so much for sharing that. Like I said, you've got such a good head on your shoulders, mashallah. Your mum and you must be so proud of you. Your mum and dad must be so proud of you, and I wish your channel so much more success. Honestly, I really enjoy your content and I respect you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for taking the time to join me, and may Allah grant you all success and blessings in your family, inshallah.
I mean, barakallah fiki, sister. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Please keep in touch. Hopefully, again, we could do this soon. I really enjoyed this. It was really refreshing to speak to someone on the same wavelength. So, yes, inshallah, keep in touch. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for everyone for their comments, all their nice ones, for all your starred comments. That was lovely. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.